again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we've got ourselves another great stitch. This is the feather stitch. Absolutely gorgeous, easy to work up, and it's only a 1-row repeat. Yes, I think it would be ideal for perhaps a cowl or a blanket, especially a baby blanket for the cold winter months. This is some gorgeousness. Absolutely love how my swatch turned out. For this, I used Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo Stripes in the colorway of Polo Stripe. It's a weight of 4. It is 100% acrylic, and it is 482 yards. Now, that's what I used for this particular swatch. You can, of course, use whatever works best for you. However, what you want to keep in mind, though, is because this is really a thick stitch and completely reversible, it's very substantial, so it is going to be a bit of a yarn eater, a little bit of a huggy. So you want to keep that in mind. Also, for this particular swatch, I used a 6mm size J crochet hook. And, well, without further ado, let's get started, all right? Okay, so for today's example, I'm going to be using Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the colorway of Anemone. And as far as your base chain, very, very, very simple for this particular stitch. You just need an even number of stitches. As always, though, I do suggest make up a swatch first before going into a full-size blanket or what have you to get used to the stitch, and then figure about how many stitches you'll need for the width that you're going for. So get an even number of chains and we shall get started. Okay, so row 1, I did say that it is a 1-row repeat, and it is, but we have a little bit of preliminary stuff to do first. So row 1, going to start in the second chain from the hook, make a half double crochet. So yarning over and insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 loops. And there you go. So you got yourself a half double. And then for every stitch, do the exact same thing. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. The first row, it's just all half double crochet stitches. Very, very, very easy, very straightforward. And this gives you sort of a foundation in which to work off of in subsequent rows. And just a few more to go. Okie dokie. 2 more. Now the reason why you need an even number of chains to start off with is because you need an odd number of half double crochets for your first row. So let's move on to row 2. Okay, row 2, it's another sort of foundation row. I'm going to start off by chaining up 1. That's to give us a little bit of height. Turn the work, and into this very first stitch, half double. So yarning over, insert, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. So we're starting off with a half double for our first stitch, then chain 1, skip a stitch, and then into the next one, half double. So skip that next, go into the next one with a half double, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double into the next, and so on and so forth for the rest of row 2. Chain 1, skip a stitch, half double into the next, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double into the next, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double into the next, chain 1, skip a stitch, half double into the next, and so on and so forth. In the next row, that is where we're really going to get into the actual patterning. So got one more to go, chain 1, skip a stitch, and then half double into that last stitch, which is a little bit tricky to find, but we persevere. There we go. And that is the end of row 2. The eyelets are a little bit subtle, but they are there. All right, let's move on. Okay, and now for the pièce de résistance, row 3, where we actually get started with the fun stuff. So start off by chaining up 1 and turning your work. Into this very first stitch, we need a half double. So yarning over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, and chain 1. Now, we're going to be working into 3 different stitches. First, the chain space right here, then the stitch down below, and then the second chain space. So, yarn over, going into the chain space, pull up a loop, and you want to give it some slack. Not a ton, but you do want a little bit of slack there. Then yarning over, going into that stitch down below, and pull up a loop. Yarn over, next chain space over right here, pull up a loop, and then we have to pull through all 7 loops. Slow and steady does win the race upon occasion, and there you go. Chain 1, yarn over, going into this first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, the stitch down below, pull up a loop, almost had it, pull up a loop, there we go, yarn over again, and going into the next chain space, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 7 loops. There we go. Chain 1, yarn over, going into that first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space over, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 7. Chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, the stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space over, pull up a loop, pull through all 7. Now, this does take patience, this does take practice, and also I strongly suggest use a yarn that is clean, a nice clean yarn that is not very fibrous or fuzzy, would make getting through all of these loops rather tricky, I think. So a nice clean yarn is the way to go. Let's continue on. So chain 1, yarn over, going into the first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, the stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, and chain 1. Yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, the stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, and chain 1. Yarn over, and we can only do this once more, so yarning over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, the stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, and then into this last stitch, half double. And there you go. Absolutely gorgeous already. So, as per usual, I'm going to repeat this because I like to be thorough and I like spending time with you guys. So, let's do a repeat, shall we? Or 2, or what have you. Okay, so to repeat row 3, I'm going to start by chaining up 1 and turning the work into this first stitch, half double, and chain 1. Now we're not going to be going into an actual stitch down below this time. We're going to be going into the stitch that we worked previously, so it's kind of easy to see, which is rather convenient. So right now though, yarn over, going into this first chain space right here, pull up a loop, yarn over, then this space down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, then the next chain space over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 7. I mean, technically down here it is still working within a stitch, but it's already been opened up a bit by previous stitches, so it's really easy to see where to go into. I really like that about this particular stitch. So I still need to chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, through 7, there we go, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, next chain space, through all 7, there we go, chain 1, through the first, yarn over, into the bottom, yarn over, next chain space, through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up that loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, and then last but not least, half double into that last stitch. And there you go. Looking gorgeous already. And over time, if you practice, you will develop consistency with your tension. It takes some doing, it doesn't just happen, but with some practice, it can happen for you too. Just keep at it. And speaking of which, let's do one more row, and then I'd like to show you how I like to finish off this particular kind of stitch. Okay, row 3 for the repeat once again. Chain 1, turn, yarn over, half double into that very first stitch, and chain 1. Yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, chain space, pull up a loop. Pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, next chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, pull up a loop, yarn over, second chain space, pull up a loop, pull through all 7, and chain 1. Yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, second chain space, and then pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, next chain space, pull through all 7. Okay, my focus is getting funky. Sorry about that. Chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, next chain space, pull through all 7. There we go. And we're almost to the end of the row. Got a chain 1 still, there we are. Yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, next chain space, pull through all 7, chain 1, yarn over, first chain space, yarn over, stitch down below, yarn over, next chain space, pull through all 7, chain 1, and half double into the last stitch of the row. And there you go. Okay, now the next step, totally optional by all means, but I just want to, put it forth as a possibility because we started off with a row of half doubles, but if we just leave it as is, it kind of looks like it is only half framed. However, if we put half doubles on the top as well, I think it creates a more finished look. So, chain up 1, turn the work, And what we're going to do is we're going to just do half doubles all the way across. Now, keep in mind that we need to do our half doubles into the half double stitches as well as in the chain spaces in between so that we don't throw our count off. So, yarning over into the first stitch, do a half double, and then in between, also do a half double into that chain space. And then the next one, it's going to go right into the top of that feather with a half double. And then the space in between into the top of the feather. And then in between, top of the feather, and in between, because you don't want to throw off your stitch count, otherwise it'll pucker and buckle at the top of your piece, and I'm sure you don't want that. So just do this all the way across until your last stitch, and I don't know, I just sort of think that it frames up the piece nicely. You know, personal opinion, personal preference, totally up to you. If you have an alternate way that you would like to finish off your piece, by all means, go right ahead. My word is not law, but I do try to have my word be helpful and instructive. And then don't forget this last one right here. And there you go. See? Looks a little bit more framed, you know. And because we even did, it was a row just of half doubles and then a row where it was half doubles and chain one spaces, you could, of course, do another row of half double if you are so inclined. But that's just to give you an idea of, you know, an alternate way of finishing up your piece. So, ta-da! There you go. All you have to do is just keep repeating row 3 as many times as you want, and then finish it however you want. And there you go. Ba-dum! Alrighty, my dears. So that's going to conclude today's tutorial on how to do the feather stitch. Really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation, as always. And in the comments section, I want to hear from you. Yes, I want to hear, what do you plan on doing with this stitch? What sort of yarn? What sort of colorways? Always, always interested in hearing about your creative journey and everything that goes along with it. So, that being said, you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please, stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great, great day.